Hello, welcome to my Sunday Front. Today, I have another news update. Um, I just wanted to share a few things before, um, because it was kind of an eventful weekend, I guess. I think when you plan things, like you gotta accept that it's not always gonna be perfect, and also, you gotta look at the light out, you know, at the other end of the tunnel. And I think that was my whole weekend. Like, if there was a caption for my weekend, you know. But I'm still here. I'm not going nowhere. We're not going anywhere. Um, so that said, I kind of wanted to get into it. So today is gloomy. It's a gloomy day, which began early Sunday. This weekend was vibrant, and although I remained upbeat, felt the weather change because yesterday, I decided to start sticking to my original diet. So much so that I didn't buy any new foods, just the same old staples, which I tried to do anyway. With the exception to that cake mix, I can't help myself. For real, like I had something going on. I was like, I am not I'm not doing I'm not pushing my limits ever again. I don't know what it was. Like, I just kind of feel like I should have just stuck to my guns on my whole nutrition. And, I know like this health initiative that I took is a process. But sometimes, like you want to treat yourself. And as you have seen in some of my videos, I have been very interested in that. Okay. I did do some shopping for cool stuff. I had bought a full back massage seat, like one of those. It looks like a car. It looks like literal a car chair. Those seats for cars. It's like a massage and heat both, and like it has like an adjustment on it. So I bought a full back massage seat and a ring with faux emeralds. It was gold, and I bought that for my mom, and for me, I bought a pink Himalayan lamp that she says are it, and because it's been it for her like for a while, I decided to get one. And this one was small. Got a USB plug. It's a desktop one, so you just plug it in and you can have it anywhere. You can put it in your car. It's small, so hopefully I get that today. Um, but yeah, the tiny desk version I thought was perfect for here. I can just have it right here. Those are supposed to purify the air, so it kind of has the dual purpose. Although it's a lamp, it kind of just warms the rocks and kind of brings like fresh air out of the rocks. I think some people put like essential oils on them, so I'm not sure how that works, but maybe I'll check it out. Um, I might not, but I mean, you can wash the rocks off, right? But the weather in the tropics is getting rougher, with patches affected by moisture and the Saharan dust. But there is one that will begin to ignite the storms, further pushing us into a more wetter week. So Wednesday, the one I speak of, is looking to develop as a tropical depression. It is said to affect Florida, the entire state, where it seemingly would eventually cool off, but also that region of our nation. So it's a storm that looks like it's gonna go like near the Caribbeans to into the state of Florida. Like it's gonna totally affect that state, but also it will affect the area too. I imagine as it moves on its track, if it's still a cyclone or if it even begins to form a cyclone, it will probably still have some effect on the weather in that like I said, in that regional area. So just stay safe. Netanyahu was taking an impromptu meet with our leaders last week. He spoke with Biden admin, met Trump in Mar-a-Lago, and spoke with our media, who was gracious and sympathetic. Later, he would receive the call, the one we talked about, the dreaded hypothetical that in an instant became an earth-shaking reality. Netanyahu, who was in D.C., he quickly picked up and took the first flight back to Israel, where his people waited for him. The scene, a soccer field, an entire playground in Israel, charred, buzzing with concerned citizens, ambulance investigators, reporters, wounded men and women, parents. The playground was the center of the neighborhood. An event was always promised there. This atmosphere, though, to which even last week Kamala Harris gave up her sturdy, tight-lipped disposition to, stating she ordered immediate end of war. So, not an ordinary playground. It had a bomb shelter in it, located steps away from the field. 3 rockets were fired. The playground had been obviously hit. Who's claiming it? Nobody. Israel blames Hezbollah, who took no responsibility, citing they had no part of sending such atrocity to the country. Lebanon even finger-waving, sticking their neck out, saying, "Do not incite battle and further the situation." Nobody claimed it. To this day, they all know nothing. And as the country grieves and hold funeral for the 15 victims, including children, they have remained somber and steadfast, as this moment of mourning is recorded as one of the most horrifying acts of betrayal we have ever witnessed. So, I just want to go over it just so that we're clear. Israel was hit with 3 rockets. When Netanyahu was in D.C., he had met with the Biden admin, he had met with Trump, but he was in D.C. at the time they had sent those rockets. They know every detail of what type of rockets, what direction. They know all these things. They had sirens going. But in one community, they had a playground and they were having a game. And by the soccer field, they have this bomb shelter. And I believe everybody rushed to the bomb shelter, but not everybody made it in. You can see there's bikes and things charred right next to it. Not everybody was able to enter it when it landed. And therefore, there were several casualties, including children. Like I said, nobody has claimed these rockets. They actually have, have not taken responsibility. They continue pushing that they don't know anything about the rockets. And Lebanon, because Israel automatically assumed it was Hezbollah, told them that if they took to striking, into Hezbollah territories, that they would pursue activity against, not in retaliation, but in defense of, because they don't find that situation should arise to any battle. And they had already told Netanyahu, that they didn't want a part of war, and so it's a matter of trying to continue to have solid evidence and continue to talk. And also there's also the thing where the peace talks, they need to continue altogether, and Kamala said that she wanted an end to the war. I believe she was silent this whole time and speaking on another uh, struggle around the world when she lacks sympathy for us here. I don't find that attractive at all. I think that maybe boundaries and toes were stepped on when she did, in bad faith, invite Netanyahu to the White House in D.C. Um, you know, I think it was a blatant slap in the face to the entire struggle that, Palestine faces, because there was lack of support and also lack of empathy, and also the kind of, I think there was a little bit of aloofness when it came to Israel as a country, because it's not like they haven't suffered and have no investment in pursuing, the freeing of hostages or the protection of their borders. So there's a lot involved that she just kind of just boiled down to her immediate orders of, and she kind of talks like that, like in a childish way. I think her way of handling things is like black and white. And I think that people praised her for trying, but I think by now this is the end of her term serving as vice president. So I think the praise comes from finding her once again on a ballot, in the process of being voted into yet another election, in which she will become top leader as she, if she's actually elected in this, this year's vote. So, an update on Sonia Macy case as the nation continues to rally for her family. They continue to shine the light on her life, her struggle and strife, calling for equality, inclusion, and accountability. Officer Sean had a history of corruption as a person, lacking empathy and moral compass. He continued being watched, prone to poor performance, bad behavior, and deviance. He was constantly in trouble with his superiors. Even at work, he was known to be racist. He didn't tolerate women, nor could he ever hold any responsibility to it when he messed up bad. Even that night, he casually brought his tape into her lawn to supervise his buddies taping the restricted zone front yard area. So this update on Sonia Macy case, it continues. It brought light to a situation in which protests against police brutality, came to light, and because of the situation that she was in when she did call for help, I think that it sparked interest of mainstream America. So on body cam, he was questioned also when he stopped communication, when he walked into the house, as there were patrols on standby, pressing the issue of lack of sufficient information regarding the circumstances surrounding the call to the police. He shrugged it off with a quirky response and went to, on his creative idea on how to continue his productive overachiever day he was convinced he was taking charge of. Oh, and by the way, he was fired. He was fired, he was arrested, and he was charged with the murder of Sonia Macy. Rest in peace, Sonia Macy. Gone too soon, never forgotten. And we will always remember your life. So just to continue this conversation about the officer, I believe his first name was Sean, and he had been, I think he had been removed from certain patrol districts. He had been in trouble a lot with his bosses and, in several stations. So he continuously, antagonized his own situation to where he was, it's inevitable. It was inevitable. You put on that badge and you think that it's that easy. It's really not, And who do you think you are, to apply in bad faith, And I think that's a lot with a lot of the corruption that we speak on lightly. I think that it's a lot to do with, even losing the trust of the civilians, even to the point where they're literally having to babysit you and you're on duty. It's not just mischievous. It's not. This, these protests, all these things, it's just steps to take, because there really, really needs to be accountability. And in a big way, I hope her life impacts everybody and continues to show, that change can be done. And some places it needs to be done. And, with people like Officer Sean, obviously, he shouldn't have been there. When he answered that call, he was very callous. When he, again, was questioned by the superiors, he thought that it was his time to shine being cute. And he gave them a smart remark back and ran to the back of his truck, grabbed the barrier tape, and started, taping off the area with his comrades. He thought, let me find myself busy, supervising a small task, just to kind of rub, it in the face of authorities. And that's why I think they quickly and swiftly picked him up off his high horse and threw the book at him. 'Cause it's people like that, it's like you can predict what they're going to do next. They're not that smart, right? I mean, sometimes every situation, sometimes it gets a little complex, but it's basically, it's as simple as they are in the head, So, see, I have more news. Oh, Andrew Tate back in the news after he sued a Tate girl. I believe he sued a Tate girl who was residing in Florida, but actually everybody's talking about that case because it actually happened in Romania, and I believe that's part of the litigation that's being pursued against him in Romania. So I'm not sure, it could be also including England. So at this point, it's just kind of foggy and vague because there's so much going on with that case. So the media caught up with him at the Olympic Games. He was protesting the recent scandal that caused many to accuse organizers of religious suppression of freedom. Stating the opening performance depicted all the apostles, saints, Jesus at the Last Supper. Many outraged wrote angry letters calling them out for blasphemy. So this was the Olympic Games recent I guess it was like a this viral thing that people were so angry about, you know. And a lot of times when people see things that counter their beliefs or, you know, violate their, you know, morals and kind of values, they usually call in and, you know, complain. And this one was no exception. They felt Christianity was under attack. And what pushed the narrative was transagenda because it was a dance off for drag queens with children taking part. This threw the act over the edge and sent the viewers. Andrew Tate, armed with Da Vinci posters blown up, masterpieces, and words in the back to stand up for religion, he, with his brother Tristan Tate, and their fans gathered to show disapproval for the tone deaf display. So, I mean, everybody has the right to, you know, their inherent freedoms. And I feel like, you know, Andrew Tate taking a part of that, I don't think that it was like necessarily, you know, a good thing for the entire, you know, the entire scene, because like, you know, I feel like people don't really take him seriously. Like he's just a personality that a reality personality, you know, a reality star, and people obviously really have hurt feelings right now, and stepping and downplaying religious freedom, that's not the look. And of course, these biases, they do come to play and tear countries into division, you know, they tear them in two. And I think it kind of downplayed the whole strife. Biden is in Austin right now to speak in an hour about Supreme Court reform and making laws that would counter presidential protections in criminal proceedings. So I heard he was going to talk about the Palestine issues, and he was going to talk about the Supreme Court reform. So he's speaking, but he also wanted to really press that he is seeking to limit presidential protections, you know, and laws, you know, that counter criminal proceedings against a leader, because, you know, he feels like maybe that could be used against the judicial process and, you know, a fair justice system. And he feels like that arm, you know, it needs more work done, and that I guess probably affected him personally, and he wanted to make sure to do that if it's the last thing he does before he leaves the office, and make sure that he puts something into writing. So I don't know. I kind of feel like there was so many more important things to look into, but you know, that's our leader, and as long as he's doing something, I guess. But I do feel like, you know, like there's so many other things that he could have said, you know, but all he's trying to convey is that there's a lot of governmental, how do you say, failures? And I feel like maybe, I don't know, I feel like maybe like the Biden admin, they were a little bit more weaker when it came to our stuff, you know, the civilian life, the life of the general population. I think we should have been more heard, in fact, listened to when it came to things that we needed. But again, we're at the end of this term for this administration, and obviously he's not taking part of the next tour, leading the great nation in the greatest nation in the world. But Venezuela actually had elections. Venezuela elections were held in Maduro won by marginal vote, angering the citizens who took to the street demonstrating against what they called a weak electoral process. And they were asking if they were all equally counted because they deemed this a rigged election. They reject Maduro as an elected official. The vote has sparked protests in the United States as well. So Maduro was elected. His vote count was marginal and a slight gain, because of the small win that he had over the other guy. They just went immediately bonkers over that. They feel like he was had something to do with it, that it was nothing less than a rigged ballot. They want to all be equally counted as people, and they felt like this was not democracy at work. And a lot of people who do have ties in Venezuela were angry, and you don't have to live in Venezuela to be affected by it. There was people in America who were very angry and demonstrated in protests with signs and the flag, and just denouncing the unjust position of the government towards their democratic vote. So I hope you guys like this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon on the next one. My son different. Bye bye.